Just before we finish, we shall pick our teams for the game. I think they'll probably be fairly similar teams to what we saw against Newcastle, but we shall go through. I'll start with you, Theo. Obviously, Alisson Becker will be in goal, but in defence, would you keep it the same, or is there possibly an argument for Matip to come back in?
I'd keep it the same. It's got a clean sheet. Gomez and Van Dijk, it's a good partnership. It's got that mixture of pace and power, and we know Real Madrid have got pace and attack, and Benzema's not the fastest as he used to be, but you want a bit more pace than them. When Gomez has played so well against Newcastle for the majority, building on that Everton performance, don't really see a reason to change it. Like Liverpool, they need a bit of rhythm at the moment. And when you've got back-to-back wins, keep the back four the same. That's where you start winning games from, isn't it? Like if they keep a clean sheet, only takes a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a decent place to start. Tom, is it the same for you? Is there an argument for Matip? Are you keeping Gomez? If you are going to keep Gomez, you can talk us through your midfield as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one. I think you could potentially bring Matip in, but I think maybe Gomez, maybe just stick with him for this one. Just in case, Real Madrid's pace and attack as well. If, you need extra cover for Vinicius, Gomez maybe is a better option in terms of dealing with that. So, yeah, I would probably keep it the same. In terms of the midfield, I'd be tempted to maybe keep it the same as well from Newcastle with Henderson, Fabinho and Bajcetic. It's just whether, Bajcetic's obviously played in a few games now, but it's a different level, this particular fixture. But I think Klopp will probably trust him to start him for this game. I think they'll probably keep it as those three, but would have quite liked to see Milner play so he could renew his rivalry, although Casemiro's not going to be there. I don't know if you remember that challenge you put on Casemiro in that game at Anfield a couple of years ago, which seemed to wind up the Real Madrid players quite a lot. Maybe bring Milner on later on in the game if they're winning. Keep it as the three, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see Milner at some point, if for no other reason than if Trent gets booked, then he'll miss the second leg. So possibly there might be a Milner right back at some point, I would have thought. But Lynchy, your defensive midfield, are you keeping it the same as Newcastle, or are you mixing it up?
Yeah, no, I think I keep it the same. I think with Gomez, your biggest worry about him sometimes is that he can get a bit bullied up against physical centre forwards. But I don't think it's going to be that type of game. I think in games where it's the football insides come up against him, he's really good. Really smart at reading that sort of play and sort of good at if there's pacing behind him. He's got that recovery pace that's helpful. And in midfield, yeah, same again as well. I think on Bajcetic, I think it is a big test for him this, and you do feel for him a bit being thrown into a game like this. But I think he'll be relishing it. He's so full of confidence at the moment, and at the end of the day, he deserves to start this. This should be the reward for everything he's put in up to this point. And I think he'll be out there thinking, he's a lad who grew up in Spain, thinking, what an opportunity to show what I'm all about against, Spain's biggest club or one of the top two at least. And yeah, I'm really interested to see how he gets on, because that's, there's still that real class in that Real Madrid midfield. So a real test for him, but an exciting one.
Yeah, certainly is going to need the likes of Fabinho and Henderson alongside him to help him through. But luckily, it looks like they've turned a bit of a corner as well in recent times. So hopefully that can continue. Theo, we'll come to you first for the forward line. Again, I suppose it's probably the same as what it was at the weekend, assuming, of course, that Darwin Nunez can play.
You might not get to do my midfield then. There was me going to put Curtis Jones, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Leighton Clarkson, even though he's not even at the club at the moment.
Yeah. Go on. Talk us through your midfield then. Go on.
After all that, it's probably going to be the same. Like Bajcetic, there's no fear about him at all, is there? You remember when Jack Wilshere absolutely tore the best Barcelona midfield apart? It was when he was at the very start of his career and when he played without that fear. And sometimes these teenage players do have that when they're high on confidence, when they're doing well. So fingers crossed, Bajcetic can have his own big Liverpool moment there. And you think it's against the Spanish giants. He's a young Spanish lad. It's a game that he'll be licking his lips at the prospect of playing, having not had any inkling of being anywhere near it when the draw was made. And really, you look at players who are left in contention. Who else do you throw in? Naby Keita. Well, he's not going to be at the club probably come the summer. You might as well stick with the ones that are doing well, who are part of your long term, and give them that reward. And then front three, it all comes down to Darwin Nunez. If Darwin Nunez is fit, and I'm guessing they're currently out training, so if he's not on that training field, my answer might change here. But if he's fit and he can start, or if he can play, you start him because he is this agent of chaos. And when Ancelotti said Liverpool were too predictable, Nunez coming in was to bring him that unpredictability. If he's not fit, well, it's a straight choice between Jota and Firmino. And this one's a lot harder to go for because Jota's been out for that much longer, but Firmino was back in training after him. So we'll counter those against each other. Who has got more in the legs to give you an hour? Because neither of them are going to be able to do a full 90 minutes. I'd probably lean more towards Firmino down the middle, just because he's done so many of these European nights before for Liverpool, and it wasn't as long a layoff. But then the downside of if you're doing that, you're putting Gakpo on the left-hand side when he's been doing so well down the middle. There is a lot of Jurgen Klopp to weigh up here. We know the players, we just don't know where exactly they'll line up, and it all comes down to how Darwin Nunez feels, I suppose, come midday tomorrow when his shoulder's aching, or if he's okay to play through it.
Yeah, I'm sure Darwin will do everything he can to be on the pitch. Tom, if Darwin Nunez wasn't to play, which way would you go with the front three?
Yeah, I agree with Theo actually on that. I think I would probably start Firmino just ahead of Jota for this one, with Firmino down the middle and Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right, obviously. Yeah, I just think Firmino, like Theo was saying, he's just got a bit more, experience. He always seems to do well in these European games, especially at Anfield as well. So, yeah, I think you'd probably bring Jota on later on in the game if you need a bit more up front. So Firmino would be the one, obviously, to go off at that point. So, but I would probably start Firmino if Nunez isn't available.
Yeah, he's not scored for a long time, Jota, has he, an Inchy, but a couple of injuries in that period. It'd be a good time for him to get back on the score sheet, even if he didn't start this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I'd be more tempted to start Jota, I think, personally, if Nunez doesn't make it, just because I thought Firmino was appalling, actually, against Newcastle when he came on. He gave the ball away an awful lot. I think he was getting an earful from Jurgen for it as well. Probably rightly so. I mean, that was out of character, that cameo, but I just think, maybe he's just not quite there and not quite sharp at the moment. So maybe, and with Jota, yes, he hasn't scored in a while, but like you say, a lot of injuries in there. And I also just think, if it's going to be a tight game and you get someone in one-on-one, do you want it to be Firmino or Jota? And I lean towards Jota. I just think he when he's at his best, he can be deadly in those positions. And I think it'd be a big game that he'd relish a chance to come back into. But hopefully Nunez is fit as well, because I think, he is fit and in form, and it would be a shame if he was to miss this.